In this video, I'm going to go over how to automate your RedGate tasks using the RedGate comparison SDK. Although it has been retired as of August 15th, 2017, I still think it's useful and you can still download it. I will include a link in this video. Okay, so RedGate is basically a tool that a lot of database administrators use in order to migrate data and schemas between different servers. I think it's probably the leading and most popular tool as of August 2017. So if we go to RedGate, which I have installed right here, opening up. Let me pause this. I'm doing this on my home computer, so I haven't registered. Okay, so I started it up, and I'm going to do a database compare using RedGate's tool. So my source server is going to be this fellow, and I just paste it here, and I will use SQL Server authentication. And I will compare the following database: AppDB Fortress on my server to my local. So I compare it, and basically what RedGate is doing is comparing the two databases, and it's going to give me a list of the differences between the two. Okay, so as you can see, these store procs exist only on my server and not on my local. And on my local, I have these databases. I mean these store procs and tables. So it identified the differences. So during upgrades, I could actually use this in order to migrate those changes that are made between versions of an application. However, although most DBAs and stuff currently use this tool, RedGate does offer the SDK. So if you've installed it and you go to your RedGate folder, you will see a directory called SQL Comparison SDK 12. As of August 15th, they no longer have it included in the actual suite, so you have to download it, and the link is in the description of this video. So I go in there, and there's a folder. These are all the DLLs, and then there's a folder called assemblies. Within assemblies, I have two subdirectories. One is SQL Data Compare, and one is SQL Compare. If you want to compare schemas, you'd use the DLLs in the SQL Compare folder, and if you want to do a data compare, you'd use DLLs here. You can't mix up the DLLs because that, oddly enough, can cause some problems. So if you got that, we'll now work on an example. So let's start up Visual Studios. For this video, I'm going to use Visual Studio 2015 Community, which is free. Also, while it loads, you'll also notice that they have a folder called Samples. If you go into Samples, you'll see script examples of how to use the different or how to use the different libraries. So as you can see here, they have a class built using C# and it has a run example. And what does this do? It gets feedback. I'm not sure what that means, but here's a better one. It compares code snippets. So it looks at the differences and it compares this code snippets. Okay, so I'm going to start a new project. And in this project, we're going to create a console application that will perform the actual, that will use the SDK. So in this case, rather than using making a web framework, we're going to go to Windows. We're going to go to console application. The .NET framework is going to be 4.6.1. I'm going to browse directories. I'll make a new folder. Call it net. And within net, I'll make a I'll just select this folder. And I will call this RedGate example. I click OK. And my project's being generated in Visual Studio's Community 2015. Okay, so this is the basic structure of the console application. So the first thing I want to do is make sure I have access to the libraries in RedGate. So what I would do is I would go to Project, Add References, and then I would go to Browse, and in this case what I want to do is I want to go to the following folder: Assemblies, SQL Compare, and I want to include these in my project. So I'm going to copy that directory path. I will go here and I'm going to select all of this. Okay, boom. So now that I have included that, I have access to all those references as it has just shown up here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to write a bit of code. I will describe to you what that code does, and then I will, and then hopefully that will be the starting point for you to actually automate a lot of your RedGate tasks yourself. By automating these things, you can change a day's work into like a 10-minute work, because you don't have to actually be there. You can get notifications and stuff on your cell phone or your email if something goes wrong, and you can handle it. That way it frees up a lot of your time, so you can work smarter instead of harder and save a lot of time. So, and reduce the risk of errors by coding your tasks. Okay, so I'm going to write a script and then I'm going to get back to you afterwards. Okay, so I set up the framework for the program. So I'll give you a walkthrough regarding how it's set up. So firstly, I pulled a class from the samples called compare to database example, and I'll describe how it works momentarily. If you look over here, you'll see a CS_proj file. If you double click it, you can actually open it up, and you'll realize that you can run it and run these examples that RedGate has so kindly included in their thingamajig, their program. Yeah. So anyways, it's loading. So as you can see here, these are the different classes RedGate had, and they have a program.cs. You can look through this and you'll get a feeling for how to do different things, and then you could customize it so that it suits your deployment process or whatever you're trying to do that you use RedGate to do. But anyways, back to the example. So over here, if we go to compare two databases, what's happening is that we get the connection string properties from our program class, and then we register the databases, and then what happens is that we compare staging versus production. In my case, I used my local host as staging, and my production was my server that was running remotely. And then what will happen is that the console will print out all the differences, the object type and the different names. If you want to know how to access more functionality within a class, or how the actual libraries, how to use actual libraries, just copy the library name, go to Google, paste in the library's total name, search it, then you can click on RedGate help. You'll get to this page, and in our case, we're looking at the compare engine. You click on it and it gives you the classes and examples of how to use them. If you go to it, not this one doesn't, but in certain areas it'll give you examples, and you can sort of figure it out yourself. So yeah, so let's run this. So it is running, and it had an error because it's unlicensed, but it's still working. It's going, and as you saw, it showed a list of the differences. It printed them out. But in case that was too quick for you, let's go to my actual project so we can see this. So we go to .NET, we'll go to RedGate example, bin debug. We'll open up a command prompt. CDIR. So RedGate example. Enter. So it's running, it's registering the databases, and then it runs it. And as you can see, it tells me whether it's equal, what object type it was, as well as the name of the object. Everything you need to know. So using the API, you can generate scripts, you can apply changes, you can basically do whatever you want. There are some shortcomings, but I'm not going to get into that. You can figure it out yourself. And yeah, this knowing how to do this should simplify your life and make everything easier. I hope it helped. Till next time.